The bill fluttered once between his fingers before landing on my chest. $100 smile. That's what he wore. The room smelled like cedar and old money, and I felt something click into place. Clean, quiet, permanent. Sentimental value, he said, already turning away. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't clench my fists. I folded the bill, slow, like I was memorizing the creases. Then I stood, nodded once, and left his office without saying goodbye to my wife, who watched me like a stranger. In the elevator mirror, I practiced my calm. I met him when his company was bleeding out. I was young, precise, and obsessed with elegant systems. He was loud, charming, drowning in debt. He shook my hand like a promise. He called me family before I married his daughter. He let me sleep on the office couch while I built a design software that stitched their broken operations into something ruthless and efficient. We celebrated the first profitable quarter with cheap champagne. He hugged me hard, said, "You saved us." I believed him. I wrote the code in the quiet hours, designed it to learn, adapt, cut waste like a surgeon. It turned chaos into clarity. Within a year, the company went from bankruptcy rumors to headlines. $370 million in profit. Investors called it magic. He called it inheritance. I started noticing the shift when my access changed. A permission here, a meeting moved there, laughter behind closed doors. My wife stopped asking how my day went. She started saying, "Dad thinks." Then came the party. Balloons, a cake big enough to hide a lie. He handed his 16-year-old son the keys on stage. Applause swallowed the room. Cameras flashed. My wife squeezed my hand too late. I waited until the clapping died. In his office, I asked a simple question. "What about me?" He laughed, a real laugh, the kind that shows teeth. That's when the $100 bill happened. I didn't argue. I don't argue when the board is already set. That night, I didn't sleep. I reviewed contracts, old emails, the licensing agreement I insisted on when I was just being cautious, the source code escrowed under my name, the compliance clauses no one read because profits make people lazy. I didn't want revenge. I wanted alignment. By dawn, I had a plan that fit together like gears. First, I notified the escrow agent, a formal notice of breach, quiet, polite. I CC'd their legal team. Then I emailed the board, facts only, a reminder that the software was licensed, not owned, that modifications without authorization voided support and updates. At 8:57 a.m., I revoked the API keys. At 9:02, their dashboards froze. At 9:11, production lines stalled. At 9:30, the calls started. I didn't answer. I forwarded a single message to the regulators, documentation of inflated reporting tied to the software's projections, signed off by the new CEO. A minor, unintentional fraud, still fraud. By noon, the stock dipped. By 2, it fell. I walked into the building at 3. Security badge still worked. Funny how slow people are to cut ties. The boardroom was full. Pale faces, legal pads untouched. He looked smaller behind the table. My wife wouldn't meet my eyes. I spoke calmly. You transferred control to someone legally incapable of oversight. You breached the license. You invalidated support. This is the consequence. He sputtered, threatened, promised. I slid the $100 bill across the table. Sentimental value, I said. Silence is a weapon when everyone else is bleeding noise. I offered a solution, a buyback of the software license, fair market value, independent valuation. I would restore operations within hours. The board voted before he finished cursing. By evening, the deal was signed. I walked out owning the engine that powered their empire. The next morning, they arrived to work to find my logo on the screens. Clean, minimal, mine. The software ran flawlessly for my new clients. Their access redirected to a login page with a single line of text, license terminated. He called me 10 times. I didn't answer. I sent one message: "You taught me my value. Now, I run a company that designs systems for people who understand gratitude." My wife signed the divorce papers without a word. Her father sold the remnants of his pride to cover fines and lawyers. Sometimes I take out the $100 bill. The crease is still there. It reminds me that revenge doesn't need volume. It needs timing and patience and ownership.